Well, welcome to the 5D Academy of Higher Consciousness. I'm your host, Zarathustra, broadcasting from Tulum, Mexico. Can you hear my voice? Okay. All right. Oh, okay. All right. Welcome to the 5D Academy of Higher Consciousness. I'm Zarathustra, your host, broadcasting live from Tulum, Mexico. Um, I've been asked to talk about the power of transmission of the guru, of the yoni, and how important it is to be in a direct contact with the teacher of the caliber that they can transmit uh, the power of awakening. They can transmit the power of the space, of the presence. And we're going to get into that deeper, and I'm going to explain to you of the importance of it, how it works, and why we seek our teachers and why we benefit when we sit at the presence of an awakened one. Like what happened personally to me when I had the opportunity to sit with Papaji and other enlightened beings that I've been with, such as Amaji, Robert Adams, and the people I had the opportunity to be around them, and what kind of effect it had in my spiritual development. So we're going to get into that. For the moment, those of you who watching this broadcast on YouTube or Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, just know that I only have one computer here, which is I'm broadcasting through the Zoom, and you can register if you want to be in a direct communication with me and ask questions so I can see you, you can see me, and we can talk to each other. The best is if you sign up through our website, zarathustra.tv, and go to the academy and register there. And we'll send you a link, and you can join us here, and we can communicate with each other. Otherwise, it's really not possible for me to jump from one platform to another platform. I mean, my equipments are not sophisticated enough to be able to do that. I love to do it. Sometimes I'm able to check out people on Instagram because I'm broadcasting on Instagram from my phone. So, but I can't really answer back. Um, okay. Also, before we continue, I have two events coming. I have an online workshop, which is going to be on 8th, 9th, and 10th of April. And if you feel inclined, I would recommend you jump in and sign up and join me. It's going to be a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 3 hours a day. And it's about the infinite wisdom and how you can open up the channel within yourself so the wisdom comes in. And we're going to get into that, and I will explain that more in details later on. What does it mean and the importance of getting out of the way and coming to a place of not knowing, so wisdom will appear to you. It's not really knowledge, it's knowing. So that's one event we have, and I'm really excited and proud to announce that we're able to offer our retreat in Sweden. This is our 5th year, with the exception of 2 years of the pandemic. So it's the 5th time we're able to hold our retreat in Åre, Sweden. And this time the retreat is not aimed at teaching healing and healing training program. the healing may happen in this retreat, but the retreat is about awakening. It's an enlightenment retreat. And I wanted to create the space so we can be in the unified field and we can be bombarded by the energy and creating a situation for us to be able to awaken and be able to interact and ask questions and get answers and be able to go into this place. And it's much easier for me when we're sitting together in person to help you than doing it online. Online, of course, you can just go so far and do so much, but it's a different quality when we're together. So we're going to get into that too, and I'll explain it. So for the moment, take a deep breath, close your eyes, relax, and I want you to tell yourself, and I want you to come to this place, if you can. Put your stories, your worries, everything away. And know that in this very moment, all is well. Get away from the story of the world, and your own story of what's going to happen to me, Get away from it. And just dive into this place that all is well. You're provided in this moment. You have a roof over your head. You eat when you need to eat. Your life, in comparison to many, many other people around the world, is fine. Your needs are being taken care of. So dive into this place of gratitude, being grateful for everything you have. Bring your focus on that rather than what you don't have. And just know that the entire existence from A to Z is handled and taken care of by the grace, by Her Majesty, the Supreme Being. Our Lord God is in charge of everything, is in charge of life, and in charge of your well-being. So dive inwards within yourself and take a deep breath and relax into that. Just let your thoughts travel. Don't fight with your thoughts. Allow them to come and go, and don't give them any importance. Just breathe, relax, and allow meditation to come to you. Don't force it. Slowly come back. Do you ever wonder why you feel gravitated towards somebody? Why you feel attracted to somebody? And I'm not necessarily talking about romantically, sexually. Like there's an actor, a movie star, or it's a TV series, and you feel very attracted to their acting. Again, I'm not talking about sexually or romantically. I mean, that thought may come for you and you entertain it, but it's out of your reality to have a relationship with this person, but you're just attracted to them. Or maybe it's a politician, or maybe it's an athlete, maybe it's an artist, maybe it's an author, but you just somehow feel attracted to them. Let's say you like watching football or basketball. In America, we call it soccer, but in Europe, it's football. And one character you really like, and another one is very maybe famous, but you just don't like him. Like I like watching NBA basketball, and there are just coaches or players that I really like for no reason. I just feel gravitated towards them, and some I can't stand. I don't like him. I don't want him to win. I don't want to watch him playing. I'm not gravitated towards them. Have you ever thought about that? Anybody? Why? Okay. Does anybody has an answer? Somebody wants to give me an answer? Why you're gravitated towards one person? Anyone? Mona, you want to tell me? Welcome back, by the way.
Hello, and hello to everyone. I don't know if you've got my voice.
Yeah, we have your voice.
Due to internet connection problems in Iran, I don't know if it's not distorted. The sound is not distorted, but yeah, it happens every day for me. It's not just about actors or actresses. Sometimes it happens for people that I meet, even in a shop. The cashier in a shop, for example, I prefer not to go to the side that he is, for example, checking the items. I will wait in a long line, but not facing that guy. It happens all the time to me. And I don't know why, but at the same time, it happens that I just see somebody and I just feel connected. It's not about like, I don't even say, because I'm an introvert, I don't say hello or anything, but I just enjoy looking at them. And that is the way it works for me. I don't know why.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's an honest answer. I appreciate it. Anybody else? Go ahead, Hilda.
Hi. Maybe you recognize something in the energy or something. Exactly. That's a kind of
Yeah,
like,
but why do you think you're attracted to someone?
maybe the universe wants me to feel something, or maybe met them or something. I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Yeah, go ahead. Hi, what is your name?
Nitu?
Nitu. Hi, Nitu. Where are you from?
Maybe some vibrations are similar. So we have some same vibration frequencies.
Okay. That's fair enough. Thank you. So somehow we find ourselves gravitated towards some people and not towards others. Just as simple as that. Go ahead, Monica.
Can it have something with energy to do? That you meet the other person's energy, and sometimes you meet an energy that you can't stand.
That could be, yes, absolutely. But also let's say I'm watching an actor, let's say I'm watching Brad Pitt and versus another guy, and I'm attracted to Brad Pitt, but I'm not attracted to the other guy. So I don't meet them in person, so there's no chance for me energetically to get involved with them, but it's all visual. I'm watching them on TV or on computer. So everything that everyone says is also correct. There is no really. Go ahead, Heinz. Did you want to say something? Go ahead. I'm interested to hear your view.
Maybe. So for me, an actor, when an actor is playing a good role and makes it does a good job, that's all right. But when an actor is just trying to show how good he is or she is, then I try to avoid him.
Right.
Just to show the ego instead of the good role.
Right. Okay, so that's your way of connecting with them or not, basically.
Yes.
There are just some people, I just don't like them. And it's not like they do anything wrong. I just don't like them. I look at them and I don't like them. As simple as that. And it has nothing to do with their color or their race or nationality or religion. I just don't like them. As simple as that. They haven't done anything wrong. They haven't said anything wrong. I just look at them and immediately I don't like them. And there's some people I look at them and immediately I like them. Just like that. So in the realm of the teachers, I came across a number of different teachers. And only one of them I was extremely attracted to beyond any measures. And that person happened to be my Sat Guru. Sat Guru, and when I said Sat Guru, I'm not talking about the gentleman who calls himself Sadguru and you can watch his videos on YouTube from India. I'm not talking about that guy, okay? Satguru in Sanskrit is the one, your true guru. It reflects your inner guru has come into manifestation, and now you are in a direct contact with your teacher. And you may have a lot of different gurus, because I consider a lot of different people my guru, because they pull my triggers, or they can do something that bring a lot of different emotions or reactions out of me, and I learn things from them. But they're not my Sat Guru. There's only one Sat Guru that you may find, if you're lucky in this life, you may come across that one teacher, that one guru. Okay? So Papaji, for me, was that one. Even though I had encounters with Osho, I had encounters with Robert Adams, Wayne Lickerman, Amaji, Guru Satchidananda, a lot of different teachers I came across and I had encounters with, but nobody had that quality and that attraction and that gravity as Papaji. Papaji is the one for me even today. And when I watch, and his teacher is Ramana Maharishi. When I watch videos of Ramana Maharishi or Papaji, they just do something to me. It's just a natural gravitation towards these two teachers. Even though, I met Ramesh Balsekar, I never met Nisargadatta, but I never felt any I never felt anything with Nisargadatta. Even I watch his videos and his teachings. He's very direct. Ramesh is very direct. Wayne Lickerman is very direct. And I love the pearls that come out of their mouth. But I don't have that feelings for them. Papaji was different. Now, it's interesting because when I reflect back on my life, that in my youth, I gave up my career, I gave up my family and friends, and where I was living. I basically gave up the life I had, and I packed up and went with little money in search of self-realization. And I went to India and in search of finding a master who I can sit with, and hopefully this master would lead me to God realization, will help me to awakening. And somehow, through the grace, I found myself at the feet of Papaji. Now, you have to consider, at this point, I'm young and immature, and definitely spiritually very immature. I mean, yeah, I've read a bunch of books, but what I say is just mimicking and like a parrot, saying the things that I've read, but they're not my experience. They're not my direct experience. And this little immature kid comes across this giant. Papaji was like a giant. He was like a mountain. And all of a sudden, the Buddha himself comes into the room and sits. And there was just the effect of this presence of this person. Just by sheer presence, just coming and sitting down, the way he affected, his energy affected me and all of us, I'm assuming for other people, because we were a group of maybe 150 to 300 people. Most of us were living in Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh, and we all gave up our lives to go sit with the master, to sit with Papaji. Now, this is during the most productive time of my life. When you have your youth, you're sharp, you got the energy. And now that I look back, I see all of my friends, they were working on their craft, on their businesses. They ended up buying second home, third home. Their businesses grew. They were working on their family and having kids or building up their relationships with their friends. And now when I look back, all of them are extremely successful. And I sacrifice those years of monetary success for self-realization. Literally sacrificed it and dove in. So when you're in India and you're sitting with the guru and you're there for 3 years, well, you don't have an income. And back in the day, there was no internet, so you couldn't work remotely. And so your job is only to be around the guru. It means you have to self-sustain and sacrifice everything else, sell everything you have, or go back to the West and make as much money as you can and go back and sit and wait for the guru. If the guru sees you, if he has time for you. And a lot of times it's not a one-on-one situation, because there were at that time there were like 150 to 300 of us, and we all wanted Papaji. And so we had to go. There was a nice size hall. We called it the satsang house, and we would go to satsang and sit there. And Papaji was older, so he was supposed to be giving darshan 5 days a week, but sometimes it was 2 days, sometimes 3 days. Maybe if we were lucky, we would get 4 days, because he was also not very well physically and he wouldn't show up every day. But we had to get up like 6:30 in the morning and go to the place, wait in line till 8 in the morning, and then the master would arrive like around 8:30. And in wintertime, Uttar Pradesh was cold. So, I mean, many days, I remember I'm just freezing, standing in line, waiting for the master to show up, and I'm just freezing till Papaji arrives. And then, they would open the doors and they would let you in and go sit in there. And sometimes we wanted to wait for him to arrive. So when he gets out of the car, maybe he just looks at you or smiles at you. We just wanted a little smile, or maybe him looking at us. So it wasn't like now that we just stay at the comfort of our own home, and we can have a webinar with the teacher or watch videos of the teacher very easily, or as many teachers as you want to watch. You can have videos of anybody, literally anybody who produces videos. You have access to them, and you can get a taste for what they do. So it was very different, without even sacrificing anything. So it was a different time. It was a different story, but something I started to recognize, and something was happening at the presence of this teacher. When we were sitting with him, when we were able to be in the same room with him, there was a transmission taking place. Not that the transmission doesn't happen remotely, but there was another power, the power of the presence, of being in the close proximity of an enlightened being. And it wasn't necessarily always pleasant, because it was stirring up a lot of things. I remember some days I would go and sit there in the satsang house with Papaji, and there were like emotions bubbling up like crazy. All kinds of different emotions. Anger, jealousy, sadness, feelings like I want to commit suicide, feelings like I hate everybody, I hate myself, the world sucks. Emotions were coming out very strongly. And it was coming to the proximity of the Buddha, because he was activating things within you. And things would come to the surface. There were times that the mind would go crazy. I remember a couple of times in direct communication with Papaji, my mind started to go crazy. It was running like at 1,000 kilometers per second. Like if you ask me my name, I couldn't tell you my name, because the mind was like just as if I was a stupor. I went into becoming a stupor. Like literally, I couldn't tell you my name, because the mind was just so disturbed and stirred up. And there were times of sitting with the master that it was like silence, a silence that I can't even explain it. There was like no thoughts, zero, no activity in the mind, like flat. And through that would the presence, the bliss would appear. It would show itself in a very powerful way of wow. And maybe in that moment, Papaji would look into your eyes and give you a smile or give you a wink, like, okay, you're getting it. Because of course he knew what was going on. He could see through each and every person at that level and read through them easily. You were like an open book to him. You couldn't hide from him. There was nowhere to hide. He was inside you and outside you. But he would look at you like, okay, you're getting a taste of that. And then in that moment, you knew why you have sacrificed the best years of your productivity of your youth in order to come close to the fire. Because it's fire. It's pure fire. And when you get close, that fire is going to burn everything. You can't get close to that kind of fire and expecting to walk out of it with your bullshit. The guru is going to burn you. But what is this getting burned? Everything starts to melt, as if they put you on a big barbecue grill. You put a big piece of meat, and this meat has a lot of fat on it, and the fat starts to melt. And you can call it, your impurities starts to fall off and fall apart. When you get close to that kind of awareness, because it's so mighty, it's so present, it's so still, it's just like The present, it's like you're at the presence of Mount Everest. And what do you want to do at the presence of Mount Everest? What can you do? You want to karate? You want to do judo? You want to kick it? What can you do at the presence of Mount Everest? It's so gigantic that there's nothing you can do except bow at the presence and surrendering to it and allowing it to purify you. But what is this going to be purified? Because if you think of it as a religious thing, you are referring or thinking of it that this purification is like, okay, am I going to be a better person? Or I'm going to stop masturbating? Or I'm not going to think about my best friend's wife or husband? Or I'm going to give a little bit money to the beggars on the street? Or I'm going to make a phone call to my sick mother or son or brother? It wasn't about morality, because the morality we're referring to is man-made. It's a set of rules that we have agreed on. The master didn't care about that. The master only have one job, only one job. He's here to kill you. He's here to cut your head off. Cut your head off. To get rid of the I. To get rid of the I thought. I am John Smith. I am Zarathustra. I am Jane Johnson. Look at me. Look at me. Look how spiritual I am. Here I'm wearing my malas. Here I only eat leaves. I'm very spiritual. I don't think about sex anymore. I'm celibate. Look at me. I am so spiritual. It's the I that the guru is after. Have you seen the statue or the photos of Kali? You know the god Kali? Some of you may have a statue or a photo of Kali or a little necklace of Kali somewhere in your home. It's an Indian deity god that has like 4 arms from each side. It's got like 8 arms, and in each arm is holding a head. It's like they cut off heads and is holding heads. It's got 4 arms from each side, and each arm is holding a head, and its tongue is falling down. It's like, I want to cut off more heads. Those heads representing the ego, the I, that Kali has cut them off. Have you ever been rejected? I know for you ladies is a lot more difficult than my male audience. Us as men, we're used to being rejected all the time. But you girls have a very hard time being rejected because you're just not used to someone telling you no. So what happens when you get dumped? You really fall in love with this man or a woman and they dump you. One day they come and tell you, I'm not into you anymore. And what happens to you? I want you to take a moment and go into that space. I want you to pay attention. Pay attention. This is really important. I want you to don't block it off because all of a sudden you're getting some weird feelings. This is really important because in this teaching and the academy, I'm narrowing things down. I want to get into real stuff. I kind of have lost my patience about blah, 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 blah. I kind of want to be more direct. Let's get to the point. And as you can see, the world is boiling. You know, it's boiling and it's getting weird. So in a way, it's like, why are we wasting our time? Even for me to teach healing training program, a part of me is like, what am I doing? I'm kind of wasting my time. Okay, teaching healing training program. So what? Let's get to the point. Do you want to be liberated? Do you want to free yourself from the slavery you're in? That you are a slave of the mind? Or you want to get free? Think about it and make a decision. Really spend this whole week from here till next week, spend some time with yourself and really look at it. Do you want to learn techniques of how to manipulate energy so you can get what you want? Or you really want to become free from the wheel of slavery? And just really mirror yourself. Because if you really want to learn the techniques, honestly, you're wasting your time with me. Because you're not going to learn that from me. You're wasting your time. There's thousands of better teachers who can teach you those things of how you can manipulate energy to manifest things. So you can find the man of your life or the woman of your life, or how you can manipulate the energy so you can start making more money, or you can manipulate energy so things go your way. But you're still a slave. You know why? Because you're enhancing your desires to get things instead of narrowing down your desires to only one desire. It's still a desire. The desire of freedom, it's still a desire. It's not like you're desire free. But now you have narrowed your desires to one thing. Maybe I want to look young forever. Maybe I want to stay attractive. Maybe I want love. Maybe I want sex. Maybe I want money. Maybe I want another car. Maybe I want to have a lot of real estate all over the world. Maybe my desires is to have kids so I can be a mommy or daddy. And for me, it started to narrow down. Those other things were there, but my attention started to shift from them. And it was like, I want to wake up. This is all I want. I want to awaken. And I no longer want to be the slave. I don't want to serve the mind as its slave. I don't want that. I want to become the master of the mind. I want my mind to serve me. And it doesn't matter how much money you have, and it doesn't matter how much sex you get, it doesn't matter how famous you are. how known you are, how big and strong and badass you are, you are a slave, my dear brother and sister. If you do not master the mind, you remain a slave. Because you're identified with the I thought. You're identified with this thing that you're a person separated from the source. And you're always going to remain needy, and you're always going to be a beggar with your begging bowl. You're always begging. Begging for someone to give you some attention. Begging to someone to love you, to take care of you, to pay attention to you, to give you something. This is what we've been doing ever since. And we don't recognize what we're doing is the very cause of our suffering. Because we have become beggars without even knowing it. And this is where the awakening comes. This is where the realization comes. That you start to awaken that as long as you're a person, you're the I thought, and you're really identifying with the story of this person, that's your source of identification, you are bound to suffer. You're going to suffer. One way or the other. And no matter how much you're manipulating things to be your way, maybe you manipulate things and put everything exactly the way you want, but it only lasts a short period of time. You may be able to manage them to be there for 6 months, 3 months, or 1 year. Something is going to happen and tip the scale. All of a sudden, some weird thing appears on your face. You got this big thing. Fuck, what the hell did this come from? I got everything figured out. Now you have to keep going and getting laser. Or all of a sudden, some weird tumor starts to grow out. Or all of a sudden, your lover or your kids are ignoring you, or they get sick, or something happened, and things are not going your way anymore. Because you're trying to manipulate life to go your way. And it's much easier to let go of trying to manipulate things and surrendering to what is than trying to make things go your way. It's an easier path to let it go and surrender to what is. But you can't do that a lot of times, 99.99% in life. Either you need shock treatment, you need to be shocked majorly. Something hardcore needs to happen in your life to shock you. Or you need to be at the presence of an awakened being, connected and close. So they keep reflecting that back at you. That this is the way. The shock treatment is what? You got in a big accident and you broke 3 places in your leg. Now you have to lie down for a year on rehab. So you got really shocked. It wakes you up. And since you can't go run around and doing the things you were doing, and you're dependent on other people, you become humble. and you have nowhere to go and nothing to do. So you need to meditate, you need to read books, and you have time to reflect on your bullshit, all the bullshit that you were doing. So you start to realize that. Or your husband, your wife left you, or you put your money into stock market or something and you lost it all, or somebody ripped you off. And then all of a sudden you're waking up. Some shock, something happens in your life, or you're diagnosed by stage 3 or 4 brain tumor. You only have 3 months to live. You're going to die in 3 months. And all of a sudden, you wake up. You have to drop your bullshit. There is no room for bullshit anymore and all the stuff that you do. Because you realize within yourself that you need to up your game. You only have 3 months left. So it wakes you up. Or your partner left you. Or the man or the woman you're really into, they call you out and you say, you know what? I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't like that, da-da-da-da about you. And that's why I'm leaving you for someone else. And it's too late. Now you're going to go through the spin, falling down, hitting the bottom. And you're going to have to dig within. And it's painful. Or you're close to the teacher and you're following the teachings without any bullshit, without any games, playing games. Do you know the ashrams, mostly in India, thousands of years ago? I mean, there's been ashrams all over the world throughout the history of time in different ways. These days, you may call it a church, maybe a realization fellowship center, or whatever. But back in India, the reason the ashram was created was for the spiritual seekers, the seekers of love, those who wanted to attain God realization. Well, they couldn't go sit with the teacher because they had to be working all day long to be providing, paying rent, creating food, paying for food. So you're working all the time, making a living. You don't have time for sitting with the guru. So what happened was the wealthy, super wealthy, came and said, okay, you know what? I'm going to buy the land and we're going to build a building and I'm going to provide. So the wealthy started to pay, not paying the guru, but the guru would appear. So they had their guru there, and the ones who could afford it, they would contribute. So the majority who could not afford it, could leave their lives and to come and sit with the guru. So the traditional ashrams in India, they're free. Maybe you pay 20 rupees to get in, but a traditional ashram in India is pretty much, most parts of it is free. So you can go there, you eat for free, you may sleep there, and the goal is to be able, without your mind being on trying to make a living, is to sit with the teacher. But why? Why they created the system so you can sit with the teacher. It's not a corporation. This is not a mall that you go there and you spend money in. I agree, today, because of the economy and the situation of the world, to some point you have to spend a little bit money in the ashram. If you want, they make their money from selling you books, or maybe selling you some herbs or some malas or crystals. They have to have some kind of income to get it going. But most devotees living in the ashram, since they're not spending any money, they're dedicating their time. They volunteer to do things. Well, the floors need to be washed, the toilets need to be washed, the water containers, they need water, they need food, the kitchen must be operating. So if you're a devotee and go stay in an ashram and you don't have money, you offer your time, you volunteer and you help. And when 500 people are doing that, so the ashram can function. But then in return, you get a chance to sit with the teacher. And why you're sitting with the teacher? Why it's so important for you or the person to sit with their teacher? It's because of the transmission that takes place. You're already feeling gravitated and attracted to a teacher with their style of teaching. So that natural gravitation is already there. You don't have to build it or talk yourself into it. But now you get a chance to be at the presence. But you're not at the presence of a body, a human. And that's a mistake most people make. You're in the Buddha field. Because the guru, the teacher, is capable of filling up the space with the presence. And you're drinking it. So when you're sitting, when we would go and sit with Papaji at the satsang hall, we were being showered continuously in this energy field. You are giving yourself an opportunity to be radiated, to be microwaved, to be in the thunderstorm of divine energy. And if you're smart, when you're hanging out with the teacher, if you're smart, most people are not, to be honest with you. Because most people start paying attention to the behavior of a teacher. And then they get distracted. Oh, but he was smoking a cigarette. Who gives a shit if the master smokes a cigarette or not? What do I care? Oh, but he doesn't exercise. Or he eats meat. Don't bother yourself by bullshit. Whether he eats meat or he doesn't exercise or he smokes a cigarette or whatever. That's unimportant. Tap into the real thing. Receive the juice. Bring your attention on the transmission of the energy that you're receiving. Because by being able to, people wanted to go sit with Ramana Maharshi. Why? And the stories you hear from encounter with Ramana Maharshi, thousands of people got enlightened by being close to Ramana Maharshi. Many of them, he would just turn around and look and stare into your eyes. for maybe 1, 2 minutes or 3 minutes. Many people got enlightened from Ramana Maharshi staring in their eyes or just being at his presence. Just going there every day, sitting and being at his presence. It didn't matter what he said and what he did. It was the gigantic presence of energy field that was around Ramana Maharshi, not the words, not the action. And they went through awakening. They awakened and realized the self, and they became liberated souls because they started to realize a number of things. A, there is no separation, and that's something you're suffering from because you're operating from a place that you think you're separated. And it's not your fault. It's the way you were born. And nobody ever told you that or demonstrated it. So you think you are an individual entity separated from the source. So you're suffering because you're afraid of what's going to happen to me. What's going to happen to me? So you're always concerned about this me because you feel you're separated. The wisdom is not there. This is where the wisdom comes. A, emptying everything you know. B, replacing it by the real thing, that you're not separated. And learning how to master the mind. Mastering the mind is not a series of exercises of positive visualization, positive affirmation. Those are gimmicks. Those are money-making teachings and systems. That's not liberation of strengthening your mind. Maybe you strengthen your mind to memorize words, language, mathematics, physics, chemistry, things that you need to use, or banking for everyday or your profession. You're strengthening your mind. But you don't want to strengthen your mind so the mind is always running in the past or in the future. It's blaming you for everything you did and you didn't do, everything you said, or it's playing this tape in your head all the time that you're a victim. Oh, poor me. My parents always put me down, and my dad did this to me, and oh, I'm disadvantaged, and I don't know, whatever is your story you're playing in your head all the time to feel sorry for yourself, that's a story, and your mind is playing that. Or going into the future all the time and worrying about what's going to happen to the world and you don't give a shit what's going to happen to the world, really. Let's be honest. You're just worried what's going to happen to you. Let's not kid each other. Because things happen to the world all the time, but you don't give a shit what happens in Africa or in Australia or in South America. It's not happening to you, so you don't really care. Ultimately, you're just worried what's going to happen to you and your immediate family and your interest, your land, your home, your money, your stuff. This is all you care about. The rest, you don't care. Of course, in a group, you're going to say you care and you pretend you care, but down deep, you don't give a shit. And you know why you don't give a shit? Because it's not your experience. It's not your direct experience. And if something is not your direct experience, why should you give a shit about it? You're not feeling it. I can't care about things that they're not in my field. I can only care about things that are in my field. The rest, I'm not feeling them. And that's how I'm designed. So what do you want to do, my friend? How serious are you about the whole thing? Are you ready for liberation? Are you ready for the wisdom to come in? Because in order to become wise, the number one material requirement is you have to come to this place that you really truly understand that you don't know anything. Which you really don't know anything in reality. You know, not only you, I'm talking about, when I say you, I am included here. Don't think like I'm not included. I'm just like you. I only know this much in the vastness. The rest is knowledge. It's stories that they've told me. It's stuff I read in a book. It's things that I agree on. Whatever it is. Let's say, they say Africa. Africa is a continent that maybe 98% of its inhabitants are black people. But I've never been in Africa. Is it true? I don't know. Maybe it's a story they told me. I've never experienced it. I've never been in Africa. So how do I know it's true? I'm accepting its reality, but it's not my direct experience. Same thing. They say the planet Earth is round. Ever since I've been born, they show me the pictures that it's round. But how do I know it's round? How do you know the planet Earth is round? Have you walked around the planet Earth a couple of times to verify it's round? Or you just merely going based on the information they fed you from childhood? Have you been in a spaceship outside of planet Earth to visually see it's round? Or you're just accepting the information they're giving you? They say the planet Earth has 7 billion people. Well, how do you know that? Have you seen the 7 billion people? The most maybe you see is if you go to a big stadium that they're playing football, something, and then you see 100,000 people in one place. That's the most you can perceive. How do you know it's 7 billion people? You don't. You're accepting this information as facts, truth, but it's knowledge. It's borrowed information. You have not discovered this on your own. And when I say you need to come to not knowing anything, then the wisdom of God comes in. Then you start knowing things without studying them. Because now you're an empty cup. This is an empty cup. I can fill it up. But I gotta be empty first for God to come in here and the wisdom to come. If it's full, I can't pour any more into it. And we are full. And you know what we're full of? Anybody? We're full of shit. That's what we are. Because we think we know everything and we figured it out. And let me tell you something, you can never figure it out because this is infinite. This thing is much bigger than you and I to figure it out. You can't figure it out. You cannot understand with your mind, you cannot understand with your primitive mind the nature of the absolute. But you can become the absolute. You can merge into the being, but you can never know the being. That's why when you start thinking like, what is God? Or when you start imagining the space and they say it keeps going and going, you can't see the big picture. You can only visualize something in your mind as a picture, but you don't get it. Same as the nature of the absolute. But what happens when you sit with the teacher, and if you're lucky, if I'm lucky, I was lucky. I was among a very, very small percentage of a human population to have an opportunity to spend some time with an awakened being. But I sacrificed the best years of my working time in order to reach that. There were no retreats or workshops or go have 7 days with Papaji or 5 days with Guru Sri someone. There was no opportunities like that. They didn't exist. You had to leave your life and go sit with the Guru and receive grace. It was a different time, and it required satisfaction. It required sacrifice. Sacrifice when you're not working and you're not making money. You're not building your life. You have decided to go for this. That was the sacrifice. So there's a price to pay for freedom. Not necessarily monetary price, but the teacher is going to put you in a place that it forces you to give up the story of who you think you are. It forces you to look at your own bullshit. It forces you to go beyond your limitations. It forces you to dive into silence. It forces you to look at your stuff that you don't want to look at, so you can become free. Because of our addiction to our mind, this addiction that we have to the mind to be our master. I want to give you another example, and then let's see how much time we have. Maybe you live this life, or maybe you have friends who do. They got 3 kids, they got 3 pets. It's always busy. It's always dramatic in the home. Oh, the dog, I gotta take the dog to the vet. And then, it's like constantly busy in the home. There's things happening continuously in their home. Do you know why that is happening? You have an idea why? Because I have friends like that. Like, if you take these problems away from them, they can't stand it. They would go commit suicide. Because they cannot just hang out in silence without the distraction. Because if they hang out in the silence, they have to face themselves. They have to look at themselves, and they have to sit at the presence. That's why there's a book says the unbearable lightness of the being. The unbearable lightness of the being. Because for many people, it's like life-threatening. Have to face emptiness, have to be silent, have to be quiet. That's why they're continuously, a part of them has to create some kind of distraction. Oh, I'm so busy. I got this real estate deal and that da deal, and my kids and multi-level companies all over the world. I'm so busy. I'm so busy with work. I'm so busy with my pets. I'm so busy with my kids. I'm so busy with the events of the world. The guru forces you to drop all the stories and forces you to look inwards, to look at the truth of who you are. And you have to be ready for that, because that's not for everybody. And then when you drop, then you receive the transmission. And the transmission is not in the words. Do you think I share these things with you and any of it is the truth? If you think so, you're wrong. It's not that. It's in the transmission during the silent time. You receive the juice when I'm not talking, not when I'm talking. That's why the establishment doesn't want us to come together. That's why they created the COVID. That's why they created more separation, because they don't want us to sit in a retreat together for 7 days. Because maybe if we do that, you wake up. Maybe awakening takes place. So let's keep them separated. Let's keep them online. Let's have more wars. You cannot have peace. Let's have Israelis and Palestinians hate each other forever. Let's have segregation between the blacks and the whites. Let's have a war in Ukraine so we can jack up the prices and create hatred. We don't want them to come together. But we're going to come together. Even if it's 7 days and 7 nights. And in that time, it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter what background you come from. What is your religion? Whether you're a family person or you're single. We come together in the unified field where the love is, the true love. And we see and experience for ourselves that that is what it is. That's the juice, baby. That's the real thing. The rest is blah, blah, blah. It's interesting. This is how kind of fucked up the whole thing is. And it's very interesting. And how conditioned we have become. And you don't even know it. That's the interesting part of it, is you say, I don't want to go to this workshop, or I don't want to go to this retreat, or I don't want to go to this event because it's costly. Especially if it's related to self-awakening. But you don't realize you spend 10 times more of that on your emotional stuff. The fact that there is no realization, every time you hit an emotional thing, pay attention how much money you spend on ice cream, on porn, on new clothes, on going to restaurants eating, on crying out. How much of your emotional time and financial time into going fixing yourself so you can go back to work because you become dysfunctional? Every time that someone's going through an emotional thing, pay attention. You go buy wine, you go buy a bottle of vodka, you have to go eat out, you have to go shopping so you feel better, having ice cream, spending countless hours of time watching porn or whatever, or have to go to the gym or go counseling with the psychologist. Pay attention to that, because we don't pay attention to stuff. How much time you have to spend to get yourself emotionally balanced. If you can avoid that time and put that time into actually working and making money, we all would have been way, way more wealthy today, because our emotional unbalance, and which comes from the way the mind goes, is what keeps you away from becoming really successful in the material world, because of so much time getting exhausted on trying to balance yourself. That I've realized. Check it out for yourself. Observe yourself. Get yourself a notebook and observe yourself. See how much of a daily, during the day, you are spending that time trying to emotionally balance yourself. Figure it out for yourself, especially when you go through periods that you're hitting things. And can you imagine if you could eliminate that time and actually put it in a productive way of whatever you do? Either you're working for yourself or you're working for someone else, and just you're putting that time in making money. And you will see, you will be blown away, because I've done that. I took records. Enormous time goes into trying to get emotionally balanced. Enormous time in during the day or weeks or months or a year goes towards that, because you're not feeling good, because you're feeling off, because you're trying to figure things out, so you need time to yourself, because you're off balance, because your mind takes over. Buckle up your belt and make a decision and go for it. Let's cut the head of the snake one time. But you got to buckle up for it. You got to dedicate your time to it. It can't be half-assed. a little bit here and a little bit there. Oh yeah, I bought a book from Eckhart Tolle and it's sitting there and I'm reading it a little bit in between here and there. You gotta go for it, my friend. It won't happen like that. You gotta jump for it. Okay? Anybody has any comments? Let's talk about questions, comments, anything? Anyone? Hi, Lauren. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Did you do something to your hair? You look really blonde.
I think it's the light.
Oh, it's the light. Well, welcome back. This is a path that you have to get really one-pointedness with it. And in a way, obsessed. The awareness must become the focal point and not sacrificing anything for it. Actually, everything else could be sacrificed, but not the awareness being compromised for anything. Nothing should come on your way. Doesn't matter what that is. If you want freedom. Because you have to also understand, this is like, you're not off the hook. It's God is always testing you. You can't say, I really want God, but I really don't want to leave my apartment and go anywhere. I want all of it come to me. You have to sacrifice for it. And they put you in situations that you have to demonstrate it. You have to demonstrate it. You can't just say, I want it. You have to demonstrate it that you want it. And you're going to be tested. And you have to pass your test. Then there's the next level. But that's how it is. You're always being tested, always being challenged on this path. One way or the other. Yeah, somebody may come and tell you, you know what? I mean, you may get a direct insult. You may get directly rejected. You may lose money. You may just have health issues. Things gonna happen all the time, constantly. You're constantly gonna have to demonstrate that you're walking the talk. You're demonstrating the path. You're on this path. That's the way, my friends. I don't know how to convey this with you. But there's a price that you have to pay for freedom. Or come back another life and another life and suffer. Cool. Let's see, what time is it? We've almost come to the end of the academy. It's nice to see you all. Again, those of you who jump on board a bit later on, that the first announcement, I have an online workshop, which is going to be on the first weekend of April. It's going to be 8, 9, and 10th. It's 3 hours, 3 hour a day. And it's called The Infinite Wisdom. And what is this wisdom? How do we come to this wisdom? How do you become wise? And in order to become wise, is first you need to become empty. And then it comes. I can't explain it how, but it does come. The less you know, the more it comes to you. The more you think you know, the less it appears to you. But it comes to you. And as it comes to you, the quality of your life changes. The quality of the people showing up in your life changes. Everything changes because you are empty, and your vibration starts to rise to a higher frequency. The quality of your life does not change if you don't change. You have to change. You're always changing. But you're changing towards what? The more you're adopting the Buddha inside yourself, the more you're quiet, the more you are declining the noise and distractions, the more you realize that you're a part of the bigger self. The bigger self is showing itself to you. And in that, your vibration starts to rise to a higher frequency. And if you're vibrating in this frequency, then your outer reality has to match where you're at. So the world you're perceiving changes because you have changed. And the wisdom comes. You start to noticing and knowing things that weren't there before. But you have to give yourself a chance. Like what you're doing right now, you're showing up at the academy. You're giving yourself an opportunity. What is this? You have to take 2-hour time of your day. Are there better things to do than showing up here? Yeah. And there are a million better things to do. But you're not doing that, and you're coming here because you're giving yourself an opportunity. You may sacrifice something. Maybe there was a great game. Maybe there was a wonderful banquet, party. You can go to the beach, or you can, I don't know, go to a race or some events, and you give that up and you show up here. So you sacrifice something for this. But you're giving yourself an opportunity. And that's how it is. That's all you can do. Positioning yourself somewhere that you have the chance to awaken. So maybe wisdom come. If I don't go to the tennis court and try to play tennis, I'm never going to improve. So I have to position myself being somewhere that there's a lot of tennis courts, so I can go, or places that I can swim. So there's water I can swim. Otherwise, I can't become a good swimmer. If I like singing, then I have to position myself in a place that I can sing. If I don't position myself in the right place, I can't develop that. It's very simple. And a part of that positioning is being around people who are good at it. If I'm hanging out with a great tennis player or a guitar player and I want to improve on my practice, and I'm around people who are playing or practicing, then I'm giving a chance, a good chance to myself to improve. Otherwise, I'm not going to get anywhere. Does this make sense to you? And it's the same thing here with our spiritual advancement. You have to position yourself to be around those who have walked the path and they got it. And maybe in that interaction, you pick something up and it takes you to a higher level. But if you don't position yourself, nothing will happen. You stay in the darkness.
Hey, buddy.
Hi, Casey.
I just wanted to say I completely agree with everything you said, and I mean it makes perfect sense. I mean, for a while now, I've noticed most things in this world, like, you know, most unawakened people find happiness in all the material things and all the bullshit, as you would call it, that we think we know. And I agree. You know, it just, none of that shit makes me happy anymore. It's not what most things I don't find interest in that I used to find interest in. And it's come to the point that like you said, like I want that true freedom, you know, because I completely agree with you. None of us are truly free right now if we're stuck in this matrix, slave to a system, slave to your mind. And I've been trying, and it's rough for me too, because I got 3 kids, a wife, I got a whole ordeal going on here, but I mean, it's come to the point where I'm up all night. I'm up all night meditating or whatever, trying to learn. I mean, that's, so I don't know. I mean, I agree with everything you're saying, and it makes perfect sense to me. And, somehow we all got to get there.
Well, I call outs to you. You're showing up every Wednesday, so that's a good start. And you're receiving the transmission. The main bulk of this teaching is not really what I say. What I say is helping and gives you an understanding of where to look. The main bulk of this teaching happens through the transmission that happens.
Yeah.
So just keep up the good work. Keep showing up. And then you'll see a year goes by and all of a sudden you're going to find yourself, you're not reacting to a lot of things anymore. Somebody may come and say something to you and insult you, and you're just looking at it and you move on and not wasting time on it. So that's the beauty of it, that it elevates you. You keep elevating. Suddenly you recognize a lot of fears, a lot of anxiety stuff, like before it would really take you over. You're just indifferent to it. Or you put your money in stock market or somewhere and you lose $5,000, and it's like you move on. You don't cook over it for 6 months. If somebody rips you off, somebody cheated you and you lost $300, and you just move on. You don't put your energy on it. You just keep going. So
Right.
just hang in there. All right. So it's nice seeing everyone as always. All right. Next academy is next Wednesday, and I think there's no more time changes. I'm glad I'm here. Amir called me like it was 1:45, and it was like 20 to 2, 20 to 12, and I said, okay, I haven't heard from Amir. I guess I don't have academy for another hour. I'm just walking around. So okay, I'm gonna go start learning Spanish, work on my vocabulary, and then I get a phone call from Amir like, you realize academy is gonna start in 15 minutes, and I'm like, oh shit, I gotta get myself ready. So it worked out perfectly. Anyway, for those of you who jumped in a bit later, I'm having 2 events coming. It's an online event starting on the 8th, 9th, and 10th of April. And it's about the infinite wisdom. And God willing, thank God, we're able to have a retreat in person at this beautiful mountaineer resort, Bustoman, in the middle of Sweden. And this place is really exquisite, and I'm very, very happy they were able to give me a week. And the place by itself is just a Buddha field. I mean, just being there, and if you don't even do spiritual work and you're there in summer and you just go on a little hike and you're looking at the views, it takes you into trance. It's lush, it's green, and there's a lot of water, lakes and streams around it. And you literally can go on a hike at 12 o'clock at night. So we have the whole place to our group. I tried to keep the prices as minimum as I could, so nobody has an excuse telling me like, oh, it's too expensive. We try to just keep it down, and we're going to be there for a whole week. Everything's provided. We don't have to worry about the food or transportation or anything. All we have to do is get to this place. And one thing I noticed I don't have on my website, which I'm going to be putting it on in the next few days, is those of you who are flying to Arlanda airport in Stockholm, we're going to be putting ways that you can get to Ore and to get to Bustoman. And we're going to add that up. Feel free to contact me directly if you need to. Regarding of how to get there. Don't let that overwhelm you or scare you. It's not a big deal. The whole journey to get to the place is a part of your awakening. So it's like a pilgrimage. If it was too easy and too available, it would lose its value. The fact that you put an effort and you have to pay attention and travel to the wisdom, it adds to the value of that which you will receive. So we still have room. We still have single rooms as well as double rooms. Feel free to contact us. And if you need information, and I look forward to it. And I don't know. I mean, they may just bring the pandemic back in September. There already had rumors that something is starting mutating in Wuhan. So I don't know what kind of trick they're going to pull on us. But there is a window of opportunity that has opened up. And that's why I took the chance. And I rented the place and committed in having the retreat. Because first of all, I mean, I didn't have enough time. Normally, I like to do this and having 4 or 5 months time to put it out. But this happened very quickly. And all of a sudden, I realized that the window has opened up, and either I'm going to go for it or not. So I committed in going for it, and I took the chance. So let's not get comfortable thinking that, oh, wow, I'm going to miss this one, but there's going to be another one. There's no guarantees another one. This is it. The virus may mutate, whatever the story is, and we may go back to lockdown for a year or two. We don't know what's going to happen. So let's go for it. And it's going to be fun. And I look forward to seeing you there. Send you my love. Look forward to seeing you next week. Take care. Be well, and stay in your heart. Stay in your love. Don't fall into the fear. Stay here and realize that you have God inside you, surrounding you. And if you have God in you, nothing can happen. Nothing bad can happen to you when you stay here in your heart. Remember that. Don't fall into the fear and anxiety story. That's just a story. Come back to your heart. Come back to the love that is here, because this is the only real thing. The rest is blah, blah, blah. Namaste. For my sisters on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, thank you very much for joining me, sending you my love, and look forward to seeing you next week. Namaste.